commanding abundance, remembering your authority beyond scarcity. For generations, humanity has been trained to beg for what was already theirs, to believe that abundance belonged only to the chosen few, that wealth must be chased, that provision was a prize for those who proved themselves worthy. Scarcity has been rehearsed louder than sufficiency, until the world began to believe the lie that there is not enough. But listen closely, abundance is not something distant, waiting for you at the end of endless striving. Abundance is not locked behind gates of permission. Abundance is the rhythm of life itself, pulsing in your breath, steady in the sunrise, present in the fact that you are here, alive, listening. This audiobook is not about tricks to persuade the universe to notice you. It is not about begging for crumbs from the table of creation. It is about remembrance, about authority, about stepping back into the truth that you do not ask for abundance, you command it. And let me say this gently, these words are not rules, nor replacements for financial counsel or therapy. They are invitations to remember what already lives within you. Take what resonates, leave what does not. Trust your discernment. You are your greatest guide. If you are listening on YouTube, I invite you to subscribe, not only so you can return to each chapter of this series, but so that you remain anchored in a space that will keep reminding you, scarcity is not your story. Abundance is your birthright. So take a breath, friends. Release every belief that told you there is not enough. Lay down every whisper of lack that made you small. You are not a beggar in this life. You are a co-creator. You are not waiting for permission. You are the authority. Chapter 1: The Lie of Scarcity. Scarcity is the oldest story the Matrix ever told. It begins early. A child wants to share their toy, but someone warns, "Be careful, if you give it away, you'll have less." At school, they are told, there are limited spots, only the best succeed, everyone else is left behind. By adulthood, the lie has taken root. There isn't enough for everyone. If they have, you must go without. Imagine a young boy in school. He loves drawing, but only the top 3 get gold stars. He watches other children praised while he feels invisible. The message burrows deep. There is not enough recognition, not enough space for me. Scarcity enters not through truth, but through comparison. Now picture a teenage girl applying to university. She is told, there are thousands of applicants, only the smartest get in. She begins to feel that life is a race, seats are limited, opportunities scarce, worth conditional. She studies not from joy, but from fear of being excluded. Consider a man in his 30s working a demanding job. He wakes early, sleeps late, always chasing the next raise, not because he loves the work, but because he fears falling behind. Scarcity tells him, if you rest, someone else will take your place. And so he burns out, mistaking exhaustion for security. Picture a woman in her 40s, raising children. She scrolls through social media, comparing her life to others. Scarcity whispers, they have more. Their children are smarter, their homes are bigger, you are less. Her abundance is already present. Laughter in the kitchen, love at the table. But scarcity blinds her to it. And imagine an elder in their 70s. They look at their modest savings and wonder, will this last? Will I have enough to care for myself? Scarcity does not leave with age. It haunts the mind, convincing even the wise that provision can vanish overnight. Friends, scarcity is not truth. Scarcity is training. Scarcity is repetition. Scarcity is the world's oldest hypnosis. But hear this clearly, we do not reject ambition. Ambition is sacred. We reject only the distortion that ambition must be fueled by fear of not enough. True ambition grows from overflow, not lack. True provision flows from alignment, not desperation. So let's pause here. Take this moment to decree and declare, I am not scarce, I am sufficient, I am not lacking, I am abundant, I am not behind, I am on time, I am not empty, I am overflowing. Say it aloud, type it below, let your body feel it. Every decree is not repetition, it is reprogramming. Every time you declare, the nervous system remembers. The spirit realm answers your voice. Now think again of the schoolboy who watched others praised. What if instead he was told, your art matters. There is space for everyone's gift. He would grow, knowing recognition is not scarce. Picture the teenage girl at university. What if she heard, opportunities are abundant, there is space for your brilliance? She would learn that education is not a door to squeeze through, but a field to expand in. Consider the man in his 30s, chasing money through exhaustion. What if he remembered, rest does not erase abundance, rest multiplies it. He would no longer confuse burnout with success. Think of the woman in her 40s comparing her life. What if she was told, your home is already rich with laughter, with life, with love. You are not less. Scarcity would crumble at the sight of her gratitude. And the elder in their 70s, what if instead of fear they remembered, every day life has carried me, every breath is provision. I have always been sustained, and I always will be. They would not tremble at lack, they would rest in trust. Friends, scarcity is the story of the matrix, but it is not the story of the spirit. The truth is this, you were never created to beg for enough. You were created to live in overflow. You are not empty, you are fruitful. You are not poor, you are abundant. And the spirit realm already sees you that way, and that is enough. Chapter 2. I don't ask, I command. Friends, scarcity trains us to plead, to lower our voices and hope someone notices, to fold our hands and wait for permission. It sounds humble, but begging is not humility, it is amnesia. When you beg for abundance, you forget that you are not a servant at the door. You are an heir in the house. From childhood, many are taught to ask carefully, may I have? Can I please? Only if you don't mind. And so, even as adults, they carry this posture into their dreams. They whisper their desires, afraid of sounding too bold, too much, too entitled. They send requests to the universe, as though divinity itself might be offended by their fullness. But what if fullness was the point? What if creation is not intimidated by your voice, but waiting for it? Authority is your inheritance. You were not placed here to shrink into scarcity's shadow. You were placed here to remember that your words shape worlds, your decrees open doors, your commands align currents. When you command, you are not forcing life. You are reminding life of what it already knows. You are not begging heaven to intervene. You are declaring what heaven already ordained. The habit of asking shows up in workplaces where an employee whispers, if it's okay, may I request a raise? It shows up in relationships where someone begs, please love me enough to stay. It shows up in prayer where people plead, please Lord, don't forget me. But friends, this training did not come from nowhere. It came from centuries of conditioning. Kings and empires trained people to bow. Colonies trained people to believe power always belonged elsewhere. Religions trained believers to beg for favor instead of remembering union. The system benefits when you believe you must always ask, because a pleading people are a powerless people. Imagine a teenager who loves music but whispers, I hope one day I'll be lucky enough to make it. He plays small, waiting for permission. What if instead he declared, music flows through me and I command space for it in this world? His sound would carry differently, not as begging, but as belonging, not as luck, but as legacy. Picture a woman in her 20s who longs for love. She asks quietly, please let someone notice me. Please let someone choose me. Scarcity makes her wait for validation. But what if instead she declared, I am love embodied. I command relationships that mirror the love I already am. She would stop waiting to be chosen and begin living as chosen. Her energy would shift from desperation to dignity, from hoping to radiating. Consider a man in his 30s, exhausted by work. He whispers, I hope I'll have enough money to cover rent this month. He prays like a beggar, not an heir. But what if instead he declared, money serves me. I command provision in alignment with my worth. His energy would shift from worry to certainty, from surviving to stewarding. Think of an elder in their 60s. They look at their health and whisper, I hope I don't get worse. I hope my body doesn't fail. Scarcity turns every day into dread. But what if instead they declared, I command vitality. I command alignment with healing. My body listens to my voice. Even their cells would remember the truth. For science now echoes what spirit always knew, that the body bends toward the language it hears most often. Now imagine a single mother juggling 2 jobs. Every night she whispers, please let this stretch far enough. The weight of scarcity presses on her chest. But what if she paused and declared, I command overflow. I command opportunities that expand beyond survival. I am not begging life to keep me alive. I am commanding life to align with me. The shift would not only lighten her spirit, but ripple to her children. Her voice would teach them that provision is not a gamble, it is a decree. Or picture a business owner, terrified in a failing economy. They ask timidly, I hope customers will find me. Fear clouds their decisions. But what if instead they declared, I command alignment with those I am called to serve. I command doors of opportunity that no fear can shut. They would move from panic to power, from reacting to creating. Friends, asking is not wrong, but when you only ask, you forget. You forget that authority was written into your being. You forget that decree is your birthright. You forget that command is not arrogance, but alignment. Command does not demand from others. It does not manipulate. It does not force. Command calls forth. Command aligns, command remembers. So let's pause here. Take this moment to decree and declare. I don't ask for abundance, I command it. I don't wait for permission, I walk in authority. I don't whisper my worth, I declare it. I don't shrink to be chosen, I live as chosen. I don't beg life to notice me, I command life to align with me. I don't hope to be lucky, I command space for my calling. Say it aloud, type it below. Let your body feel it. Every decree is not repetition, it is reprogramming. Every time you declare, the nervous system remembers. The spirit realm answers your voice. Friends, command is not cruelty, command is clarity. Command is not domination, command is direction. Command is the remembrance that the field responds to your voice. That abundance was never waiting for permission, it was waiting for command. So hear me clearly, you do not ask for abundance. You command it, not timidly, not fearfully, but boldly, reverently, and unapologetically. For you are not a beggar at the gates, you are the heir in the house, and that is enough. Chapter 3: Fruitfulness Beyond Money. Friends, the Matrix has taught us to equate abundance with money alone. It whispers, if your bank account is full, you are abundant. If it is empty, you are poor. But this is a distortion. Money is one expression of abundance, but it is not the whole truth. If you reduce abundance to currency, you will spend your life chasing numbers, while overlooking the endless wealth already flowing through you. From a young age, children are taught to connect worth with wealth. Grades become the first currency. If you score high, you are successful. If you don't, you are failing. Recognition becomes scarce, as if brilliance itself were rationed. This mindset grows into adulthood, where only a few receive the promotions, the awards, the headlines. But the truth is this: fruitfulness was never designed to be so narrow. Imagine a woman in her 20s. She works hard, earns a stable income, but feels empty. She tells herself, once I earn more, I will finally be rich. But in her heart, she is lonely, disconnected, longing for meaning. She has money, but not abundance. Now picture a man in his 30s. He does not earn much, but his home is filled with laughter. His children run to him with joy. His community trusts him. His nights are peaceful. He may not have wealth by society's measure, but in truth, he is rich beyond words. His life overflows with fruit. Consider an artist in her 40s. She sells only a few pieces a year, never enough to make her famous. Scarcity tries to shame her. You are not successful, you are not enough, yet every painting she creates is an offering. Each canvas births beauty that did not exist before. Her fruitfulness cannot be measured by galleries or sales. Her fruitfulness is in the act of creation itself. Think also of an elder in their 70s. Their body is slower now, but every grandchild carries their lessons. Their words shape generations. Their wisdom feeds souls long after their work ends. That is abundance. That is fruitfulness beyond money. Now picture a student pressured to perform. They believe their grades will decide their future, that a number on a paper proves their value. But what if their true fruitfulness is their kindness, their curiosity, their leadership among friends? That fruit will shape lives long after exam papers fade. Or imagine a caregiver spending years looking after an ill parent. They earn no salary, no public applause for their patience, yet their daily devotion is sacred provision. They are rich in loyalty, rich in love. Their wealth is invisible to the bank, but obvious to the soul. And consider a community leader in their 50s. They live modestly, with no mansion or car, but their presence uplifts hundreds. They organize food drives, listen to broken hearts, fight for justice. Scarcity calls them poor. Truth calls them abundant beyond measure. Friends, fruitfulness is not limited to fertility or finance. Fruitfulness is everything that multiplies when you release it. Creativity is fruitfulness. Wisdom is fruitfulness. Presence is fruitfulness. Love is fruitfulness. Every word of encouragement, every seed of kindness, every gift of time is abundance made visible. So let's pause here. Take this moment to decree and declare, I am fruitful beyond money. I am wealthy in love, in wisdom, in creativity. I am rich in presence, rich in peace, rich in joy. I am not poor when accounts are low. I am abundant when my heart overflows. I am a garden, not a ledger. I am inheritance, not digits on a screen. Say it aloud. Type it below. Let your body feel it. Every decree is not repetition. It is reprogramming. Every time you declare, the nervous system remembers. The spirit realm answers your voice. Imagine again the woman in her 20s, chasing money. What if she was told, money is not your only proof of wealth. You are rich in time, in opportunities, in the friendships that carry you. She would stop chasing and start cherishing. Think of the man in his 30s, content in his laughter-filled home. What if instead of pity, society honored him, saying, your joy is wealth. Your peace is priceless. He would stand tall, no longer comparing himself to men with bigger paychecks. Picture the artist in her 40s. What if every canvas was celebrated not by price tags, but by the beauty it released into the world? She would no longer measure herself against galleries, but against her own soul's expression. Consider the elder in their 70s. What if their wisdom was valued as treasure, their words treated like inheritance? They would no longer fear being dismissed as irrelevant, but remembered as rich in legacy. Think also of the student chasing grades. What if they were told, your imagination is wealth, your kindness is abundance, your curiosity is fruitfulness? They would see education not as a contest of scarcity, but as a field of abundance. Or the caregiver, unseen and unpaid. What if society honored them as wealthy in devotion? They would realize that love itself is wealth greater than salaries. And the community leader in their 50s, what if they were recognized as a wellspring of abundance? Their life would no longer look modest, but magnificent. Friends, fruitfulness does not look the same for everyone. Some birth children, some birth businesses, some birth songs, some birth peace in their communities. Each is sacred, each is abundance in motion. To the young woman chasing numbers, your life is already rich. To the man comparing paychecks, your joy is your treasure. To the artist discouraged by sales, your art is already priceless. To the elder overlooked, your wisdom is a crown. To the student fearing grades, your brilliance is not confined to marks. To the caregiver serving quietly, your love is legacy. To the community leader in silence, your voice is abundance. Friends, abundance is not waiting in a vault. It is pulsing in your breath, flowing through your relationships, alive in your creativity. You are not defined by digits on a screen. You are defined by the fruit that overflows from your being. You are not empty. You are fruitful. You are not poor. You are abundant. And the spirit realm already sees you that way. and that is enough. Chapter 4. Surrender. Friends, scarcity teaches us to force, to grip tightly, to push endlessly, to fight against the current, as though life itself were our enemy. The world repeats, if you don't hustle harder, you will be left behind. If you don't control every outcome, you will fail. If you don't strive, you will starve. But this too is a distortion. Abundance flows not through force, but through surrender. And surrender is not weakness. Surrender is alignment. Surrender is remembering that the current is carrying you, not against you. Imagine a river, a wide flowing river with a strong current. Some stand at its banks, terrified of what it means to let go. They build boats of fear, paddling desperately against the natural pull of the water, exhausting themselves in the name of control. Others step into the river lightly, trusting that the current knows where it is going, that the water itself has always been flowing toward life, toward provision, toward fullness. Those who surrender discover the ease that has been waiting for them all along. But surrender is not passive resignation. It is not throwing up your hands and saying, well, nothing matters, so I'll stop trying. That is defeat. And defeat is not the same as surrender. True surrender is active trust, a posture of knowing that even if you do not yet see the outcome, you are carried. It is the laying down of weapons forged in fear, the unclenching of fists that have grasped too tightly. To surrender is to listen, to lean into the deeper rhythm beneath the noise of striving, to know that abundance is not something to be chased, but something to be remembered. There was a woman in her 20s, bright, determined, full of ambition. She believed that life only rewarded force. The more she pushed, the more she hustled, the more she would gain. She set alarms before sunrise, worked through meals, filled her calendar until there was no breath between her tasks. People praised her drive, but inside she felt hollow, frantic, never enough. She had swallowed the lie that only exhaustion could prove her worth. One morning, burned out and trembling with fatigue, she sat by her window and simply watched the light enter her room. For the first time, she did not open her laptop or scroll her phone. She sat and she noticed. The sunlight poured in without her effort. The air filled her lungs without her command. The world continued to turn without her force. In that moment, she understood. Abundance was not her wage, it was her inheritance. That day, she began the slow journey of surrender, and she discovered more creativity, more clarity, more provision than her striving had ever given her. Surrender, friends, is not the end of responsibility. It is the end of frantic control. You are not asked to abandon action, but to abandon desperation, to move not as one panicked by fear, but as one guided by trust. There was also a man in his 40s, a father carrying the weight of providing for his family. He worried constantly about bills, about future security, about whether he was enough. He gripped every cent tightly, living in a state of silent panic. His children could sense his heaviness even when he smiled. One evening, after another sleepless night of worry, he took a walk. He looked up at the stars and realized something that shifted him. The same power that placed those stars in their place was the power holding his life. The same order that kept galaxies from colliding was the same order holding his home. He could not control every outcome, but he could choose to trust that he and his family were not abandoned. Slowly, he learned to loosen his grip, to make choices from faith instead of fear. And in that trust, opportunities arrived. A better job, unexpected provision, and above all, peace. The elder in her 70s had lived through many seasons. She had buried loved ones, lost possessions, endured hardships. Yet when she spoke, her voice carried the weight of serenity. People asked her how she stayed so calm, so unshaken by life's storms. She would smile and say, "Child, I learned long ago I am not the river. I am the one who rests in it. I do not direct the current. I let the current direct me." Her life was not free of pain, but it was free of despair. because surrender gave her eyes to see provision even in loss, peace even in chaos, abundance even in grief. Friends, surrender is the doorway through which abundance walks. When you surrender, you stop blocking the flow. You stop demanding that life bend to your control and instead align with the greater current that was always for you. Picture a hand holding water. If the hand is clenched, the water escapes. If the hand is open, the water rests gently in the palm. So it is with abundance. It does not stay in a closed fist. It rests in the openness of surrender. There is a woman in her 30s who had been chasing love. Every relationship felt like sand slipping away. She begged, she tried harder, she reshaped herself to fit the desires of those who did not see her worth. And still, she was left abandoned. One evening, weary from yet another heartbreak, she sat quietly with herself and whispered, "I cannot force anyone to stay. I can only surrender to the truth of who I am." That night, she did not try to rewrite her story. She only surrendered to being. Weeks later, she began to notice how love appeared in the laughter of friends, in the kindness of strangers, in her own reflection in the mirror. And eventually, when love arrived in human form again, it was not love born of force, but of freedom. To surrender in love is to stop demanding that another person be the source of your worth. It is to remember that love flows freely when you are no longer bargaining for it. Surrender also comes in the seasons of grief, when we lose what we thought we could not live without, a person, a home, a dream. We often battle against reality. We bargain, we deny, we demand that life return what it has taken. Yet the heart that surrenders learns to breathe again. Surrender does not erase the pain, but it allows the pain to be held. It whispers, "Even here, you are not alone. Even in this night, dawn is on its way." There was a mother who lost her son. For months she could not rise from bed, her grief heavy as stone. Every morning she clenched her fists and fought with the question, "Why him? Why me?" Every evening she collapsed in exhaustion, unchanged by the battle. One day she walked to the garden where her son once played, and she noticed a single flower blooming against the fence. Something in her broke open. She fell to her knees and said aloud, "I cannot carry this. I surrender." From that day she did not stop grieving. But her grief began to breathe. She could feel her son's presence in the wind, see his memory in the blossoms, sense his love in her own heartbeat. Surrender did not take her son away. It returned her to life with him in a new way. This is the mystery. Surrender does not diminish us, it enlarges us. It turns graves into gardens, endings into openings, silence into song. Seasons themselves teach surrender. Autumn surrenders its leaves, knowing spring will come. Winter surrenders warmth, trusting the sun will return. The seed surrenders to the soil, disappearing for a season, only to rise transformed. Every rhythm of nature reminds us that surrender is not death, it is transformation. Why then do we resist? Because fear tells us that if we release control, nothing will hold us. Fear convinces us that surrender is falling into emptiness, but faith whispers that surrender is falling into fullness. Think of the bird perched high on a branch. When it takes flight, it does not check the wind charts or worry about the air. It simply trusts its wings. Surrender is the trust that you too were given wings. And yet, surrender requires practice. It is not a single act, but a posture repeated. Every morning, as you open your eyes, you are given the choice to clench or to open, to resist or to release. Some days you will forget, and that is human. But even in forgetting, you are not abandoned. The current still carries you, waiting for you to remember. Let us pause then and breathe these words. I surrender the illusion of control. I surrender the weight of fear. I surrender the need to prove. I surrender the belief that I must fight for what is already mine. I surrender and I trust. Say it again, slower, as though each word were unlocking a door within you. I am carried. I am supported. I am not forgotten. Feel how the body softens when the spirit remembers. Feel how the shoulders release, how the breath deepens, how the heart steadies. This is surrender, not escape, but return. There was a young man who had lost his job. He sat for weeks in despair, wondering how he would survive, how he would explain his worth to the world. He applied frantically, knocking on every door, each rejection heavier than the last. One afternoon, weary and out of options, he closed his laptop and said, "Enough. I surrender. Show me the way." In the quiet that followed, he remembered a passion he had long buried, teaching music. He began offering lessons from his living room. Within months, not only was he earning enough, but his joy had returned. The surrender of one path had opened another. Friends, surrender is not laziness. It is not giving up. It is giving over the burden of fear to the wisdom of life itself. It is trusting that you are not alone in creating your story. The river has always been flowing. The soil has always been fertile. The sun has always been rising. You were never meant to force the rhythm, only to join it. So let these words become your prayer. I release my grip on what was never mine to control. I release my fear of not being enough. I release the stories that told me lack was my destiny. I release and I rest. Surrender is not the end of striving. It is the beginning of living. It is the shift from scarcity's clenched hand to abundance's open palm. It is the courage to trust that even here, even now, you are held by a love that will not let you go. And so, when the world demands that you fight harder, push faster, prove louder, may you smile softly and choose another way. May you step into the river and let it carry you. May you remember that surrender is not weakness. Surrender is alignment. Surrender is abundance in motion. Chapter 5, Command. Surrender was never the end of the story. It was the opening. It was the unclenching of the hand, the laying down of the weapons of fear, the softening of the heart. But once the hands are open, once the heart is softened, once the fear is set down, there comes another movement, a rising, a remembering, a claiming. This movement is command. Command is not the arrogance of one trying to force the universe into obedience. Command is the alignment of one who knows the universe is already listening. It is not noise. It is resonance. It is not demand. It is decree. To command is to stand in the truth of what has always been yours, and to embody it so fully that life cannot help but bow in response. You were not born to whisper your worth. You were not designed to plead for scraps of abundance. You were not placed here to barter your birthright in exchange for approval. You are not a beggar in the kingdom of life. You are a sovereign presence in a field that longs to answer you. A seed does not apologize for breaking the soil. It does not whisper to the earth, "If it pleases you, may I rise?" It stretches upward because rising is written into its design. So it is with you. Growth is not something you earn. It is your command. Expansion is not something you bargain for. It is the decree of your being. Yet so many live bowed beneath the weight of silence. There was a man in his 30s raised to believe that worth had to be proven in sweat and swallowed words. At his workplace, he accepted mistreatment, hoping gratitude would be enough to keep him safe. He silenced his ideas, even when brilliance burned within him, because he feared rejection. But one day, exhaustion pressed him to remember. Surrender had shown him that life carried him, but command would show him that he could steer. He began to carry himself differently. He walked into rooms as one who belonged. He spoke without apology. He acted as though his presence mattered. And slowly, the atmosphere responded. The same people who had once overlooked him began to seek his counsel. His leadership was recognized not because he begged for it, but because he embodied it. Command does not begin with the outer world. It begins within. If you do not command your own thoughts, scarcity will command them for you. If you do not direct your own narrative, fear will write it for you. To command is to take the pen back into your hands and write from remembrance instead of reaction. There was a woman who had bent her life around approval. She had dimmed her light so others could feel brighter, contorted her voice so others could feel comfortable, shrunk her presence so others could feel large. But one morning, staring at her reflection, she whispered, "I command my return." That single decree shifted everything. She stopped apologizing for her laughter, for her boldness, for her dreams. She walked into spaces no longer asking, "Do they approve?" but asking instead, "Do I align?" Relationships that thrived on her silence dissolved, but in their place came friendships built on truth. Her life expanded the moment she remembered her command. Her wise 80s, who had lived decades as a dutiful daughter, a quiet wife, a compliant worker, sat one afternoon beneath her garden tree and said aloud, "No more. I command joy." From that day forward, she painted again, she sang again, she danced in her kitchen with no audience but her own heart. In her final years, she tasted freedom sweeter than any obedience she had practiced before. Command arrived not too late, but right on time. Even a child knows command when left uncorrupted. A little girl in a neighborhood where hope seemed scarce decided one spring to plant flowers in an abandoned lot. Her neighbors laughed at her tiny hands pressing seeds into the earth. But months later, that forgotten patch bloomed with color. Without shouting, without permission, she had commanded beauty into being. Command expands beyond the individual. Entire communities have been silenced by systems that fed on their scarcity. But history bends when a people remember their command, when they rise together and declare, "We will not be defined by lack. We will embody abundance as a people." The atmosphere shifts. Movements of liberation, cultural renaissances, revolutions of justice, all are born in the moment when command stops being a whisper and becomes a chorus. Command is not only about opportunities or wealth, it is about atmosphere. There was a man diagnosed with illness whose body was growing weaker. Each morning he whispered, "I command life to flow through me." His health did not miraculously reverse, yet he carried such dignity and light that nurses and neighbors said they felt peace in his presence. He commanded the atmosphere around him, even as his body trembled. That is command, not denial of reality, but declaration of truth within it. Command also reshapes relationships. There are those who plead for love, who shrink themselves to keep affection near, who barter their truth for the illusion of being chosen. But when you command love, you no longer chase it, you embody it. You decree by your posture, "I am already worthy, I am already whole, I will not beg for what I already carry." And in that command, love arrives, not as a chain, but as a gift. Command enters every corner of daily life. When you stand before your finances and fear whispers of lack, you decree, "I command alignment with sufficiency. I am not abandoned." When you step into work and insecurity tells you that you are replaceable, you declare, "I command recognition for the gift that I am." When you walk into creativity and doubt insists you have nothing worth saying, you affirm, "I command expression. My voice belongs." Every decree becomes a thread woven into your reality, and reality listens. Command is not arrogance. Arrogance inflates because it fears emptiness. Command expands because it remembers fullness. Arrogance shouts to drown out insecurity. Command speaks quietly, yet its resonance shakes the ground. Arrogance performs for attention. Command embodies presence. Pause now and let these words move through you as decrees, not as wishes. I command the remembrance of my worth. I command alignment with truth. I command the release of what is false. I command joy into my atmosphere. I command peace into my breath. I command love into my steps. I command abundance into every corner of my life. Say them again, slower. Imagine each word planting itself like a seed in the soil of your being. Feel how the atmosphere shifts as you decree. These are not requests. They are not negotiations. They are not bargains. They are commands from one who remembers. There was a teacher who had long felt invisible. Her students overlooked her. Her colleagues dismissed her. The administration bypassed her. But one day she stood in her classroom and chose to embody presence. She spoke with conviction. She taught as though her voice mattered. Slowly, the energy shifted. Students leaned in. Colleagues began to notice. Within a year, she was recognized not only for her teaching, but for her leadership. Outwardly, nothing had changed. Inwardly, everything had. She had remembered commands. And this is the call for you, to live as though your very breath is a decree, to walk into rooms not as one who waits for permission, but as one who carries authority, to step into every day not asking life to notice you, but knowing life already has. For when you embody command, abundance does not hesitate. It bows, not because you forced it, not because you tricked it, not because you begged for it, but because you remembered. You are not a beggar. You are not a shadow. You are not a whisper lost in the wind. You are a sovereign being designed to decree. Your presence is command. Your existence is decree. Your life itself is the echo of abundance, remembering itself in human form. And so, friends, rise. Rise in your remembering. Rise in your sovereignty. Rise in your joy. Speak the decree with your breath, with your choices, with your being. I am whole. I am sovereign. I am enough. Abundance is waiting, not at a distance, but all around you. Waiting not for your plea, but for your command. And so, beloved, we return to the beginning. We return to the throne that was never empty. We return to the truth that you were never too much, never too intense, never unworthy of love, never locked out of abundance. We return to the memory that you were never absent from your inheritance. This journey has carried you through surrender and through command. It has led you into release and into remembrance. You have laid down the weapons of fear, and you have taken up the crown of sovereignty. You have surrendered to the current, and you have commanded with your voice. You have seen that abundance does not respond to force, nor to begging, but to alignment. And now we stand at the closing movement, though it is not truly an ending. It is the moment when the music slows, when the last notes echo through the chamber of the heart, when silence becomes the soil of new beginnings. You began by believing you were far from abundance, but you have discovered it was nearer than your breath. You thought abundance was something to chase, but you have remembered it is something to embody. You thought worth was something to prove, but you have realized it is something to command. Abundance bows, not because you twisted its arm, not because you bargained hard enough, but because you remembered. You remembered that you are source, not seeker. You remembered that you were never outside the garden, only asleep within it. You remembered that your voice, your breath, your presence is decree enough. There was a time you thought surrender was weakness, yet surrender showed you that the river was carrying you. There was a time you thought command was arrogance, yet command showed you that sovereignty was always your nature. These two movements are not in conflict. They are the dance of your being, the open hand and the lifted voice, the trust and the decree. Together they weave a life of fullness. Look back for a moment. Can you see how far you have come? Can you see the moments when you thought you would break, but instead you were remade? Can you see the graves that became gardens, the endings that became beginnings, the silence that became song? Every moment, even those wrapped in grief, carried you here. Even those wrapped in fear carried you closer to truth. There is a great forgetting in this world, a constant rehearsal of lack. Scarcity sings its tired songs on every street corner. You are not enough. you are not worthy, you must beg, you must shrink, you must wait for permission. But your spirit has remembered another song. It is the sound of wholeness rising. It is the echo of sovereignty returning. It is the melody of abundance flowing. And so, when the noise of the world grows loud again, as it will, remember what you have learned here. When fear whispers that you are too small, you will remember that you are vast. When doubt insists that you are alone, you will remember that you are carried. When scarcity tries to sell you chains, you will remember that you were born free. Iwe, 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 Iwe. Let these words live in you like breath. I am sovereign by nature. I am whole by design. I am not chasing life. Life has been waiting for me. I am not a beggar in the field. I am the field itself, remembering its abundance. I am not seeking love. I am love in motion. I am not empty. I am overflowing. Let them echo not just from your lips, but from your living. Let your actions decree them. Let your choices decree them. Let your presence decree them. There was once a king who spent his life searching for treasure, only to discover on his deathbed that he had been sitting on it all along. The wealth he sought had always been beneath his feet. So it is with you. The throne was never empty. Your inheritance was never lost. Your crown was never stolen. You only needed to awaken and remember, and now you do. This closing movement is not a period at the end of a sentence. It is a doorway into another chapter. What will you write now that you know you are sovereign? How will you walk now that you know you are whole? How will you live now that you know abundance is not waiting for permission to arrive? It is waiting for you to embody it. Beloved, rise each morning as though the day itself is your decree. Walk as though the ground beneath you is responding to your steps. Speak as though the atmosphere bends to the resonance of your words. Love as though every breath is overflowing. Give as though you are not losing, but multiplying. Live as though you are the proof of abundance. For you are. Every breath declares it. Every heartbeat proves it. Every choice affirms it. You are the echo of a truth older than time. You are not separate from abundance. You are its living expression. So here, at the closing movement, let us decree together, I am whole. I am sovereign. I am enough. I am not waiting. I am living. I am not lacking. I am overflowing. I am not seeking. I am remembering. Carry these words into your days. Carry them into your nights. Carry them into your work, into your relationships, into your solitude, into your joy, into your grief. Carry them until they are no longer words you say, but the life you live. And when you forget, for forgetting is part of being human, return again. Return to surrender. Return to command. Return to the throne that was never empty. And you will find that abundance has not moved an inch. It has always been here, waiting for you to remember. This is the closing movement, but it is not an ending. It is the sound of a door opening. It is the silence before the next song begins. Step through it, not as one who pleads, but as one who commands. Step through it, not as one who fears, but as one who remembers. Step through it as one who knows that abundance bows to you, because you have finally bowed to yourself. And so, let the music fall silent. Let the breath steady. Let the throne remind you that it was never empty. And may your life, from this day forward, be the living decree of abundance remembered.